I'm dying. Gotta get some cough drops. Got a dry throat, sore throat, fever body, terrible immune system. Working over this sickness. Snotty nosed little brat is what I am right now. 37 years old and still a snotty nosed brat. Jawee. Anywho's, welcome to the realm of Millenia. Be ye a man, a woman, a child, a spirit, creature, or the Mahan. Be ye a native, migrator, or maybe even invader. Welcome, for I am your host, the Millennium Mailman, here today, continuing with week 19, Devil's Advocate. Chivalry isn't anything near dead, but the normalization of heroisms is pretty much dying out amongst the regular Joes, because those same old regular Joe men have started seeing the consequences of attempting to be chivalrous to the wrong person. They've seen the consequences play out time and time again, and with the rise of social media, they've seen it happen to more and more people, and they don't want to be that person who doesn't have the emotional connection of the whole purpose of chivalry not being reciprocated, because chivalry was about humbling yourself in order to display the fact that you care about your partner's emotion despite how valuable your partner would see you, specifically from the woman to man. Chivalry was the man of status, of value, of worth, lowering themselves despite their situation in order to somewhat placate to the emotional aspect of, I need to do something to allow my wife, to allow the women that I'm courting or sleeping around with, doing whatever. I'm humbling myself so she can see some sort of substantial notice that, hey, I care, right? I'm willing to humble myself just a touch. Because on a certain degree, on a level, women have always been like right here in the center. Nobles and people of status would be various ranges of here, and those people could be chivalrous and humble themselves to recognize that they would be or willing to submit themselves a little lower to give their women a bit more respect, right? Commoners, your average Joes, fluctuating between here and here. Come on, bro. It's impossible for these guys to be chivalrous. And these guys being humble and more humble than the already lowly peasant people, common folk that they are, these guys, these average Joes, being chivalrous. This whole devil's advocate hot take point is about them recognizing, oh, me being humble isn't actually making anything better. It's actually making these women of all ranges, this standard, minimum standard, actually, oh wow, it's making everyone see commoners and peasants as even less than the less than that we already are. So we're getting further and further down by humbling ourselves, and we're just getting more and more disrespected because of it. More and more disrespected by the women who we thought would see us as a bit more valuable or see a bit more worth in us, and being seen as even less than the less than from all the other nobilities and the soldiers, the knighting ranks that are like, what the hell is these guys doing? It's like, oh, well, just embarrassing yourself. Correct. You're embarrassing yourself because you never could be chivalrous in the first place. Stop it for your own sake, right? So that first part from Wednesday that initiated the hot take was more so about expressing that much and getting the point across that what chivalry is and what it means for people to really be talking about, hey, you're not being chivalrous, especially the women in the modern dating era and scene. It's like, what does that mean? What that means for you guys, go back, look at the Wednesday video for more expounding on that. But that's plot point one. that chivalry is only applicable to people of high status, high value male, alpha male, sigma, right? Knights and soldiers, not at all commoners, and not at all by any means a peasant of any sort, right? Next point I got here, which will be again actual today's part of this segment, would be, but chivalry can be for everyone. Oh, sure, you can rebuttal that as much as you care to, right? But chivalry can be for everyone. Anyone saying that is more so a distractor who is very misguided in that understanding, because the idea that chivalry can be for everyone is a very, very gross misconception that has been arisen from the fact that everyone, to include the peasants and commoners, would have that occasional opportunity to enlist, which would be the gateway entry level to commoners and peasants becoming able to enter in the ranks of nobility, and knighting, where you getting put into the military, would allow you to hold some sort of status, because only those with status actually can be chivalrous, right? Because only those with status can own land. Only those with status can actually do things are of worth or of high value that could be humbled. Commoners and peasants, and not so much. So this idea that chivalry can be for everyone is actually rooted in the fact that anyone could join the military until you're told, we don't want you, right? The same thing is true today. The military is always hiring. Anyone can really join the military up until the point where the government's like, you don't meet any of the qualifications, or right? But back then, unlike say in America right now, where the government's always allowing people to join, that was not the true. It was not true that anyone in the populace could always join the ranks of the military. It was always a selective opportunity at around certain particular times, and so on and so forth, right? Where, again, that misconception is from that opportunity that peasants and commoners would have the opportunity to enlist depending on their circumstance, right? And that is entirely prior to any conscriptions, where if your country, your kingdom was at war, it's not an option to join anymore. Get all the way over there where I tell you to be and put your life on the line. It's not optional, or we're going to execute you or throw you in the dungeon for the rest of your days and take your wife as punishment, right? Your children will be equally forced to conscription, and your wives will be a resource for those very same men right on the front lines. Join, but meaning the only way you had to kind of protect yourself was joining by enlisting prior to active times of war, because it's an entirely different ballpark during draft seasons, right? Where, so long as you had enlisted prior to the forced conscriptions, mind you, where they'd have that opportunity to garnish merits and rise in the ranks, rise in your noble status, rise in your knight rankings and status through your heroic acts of bravery. That's where you would garnish your merits and build your status, right? Where, note, heroic acts of bravery is it has always been that poor man's gateway to a better, stable life. It's been a militia or government ploy for king and country, that kind of propaganda, for the longest time. still true to this very day. It's the poor man's gateway to a better, stable life. It's been a very. There's a little linguistic joke here. Suki, long time. Suki, long time now. That king and country has been that propaganda way of letting a poor man pretend that there is a hope that they could have a better life just by doing a whole bunch of heroic acts of bravery to climb the ladder of success into having status. It's been a sucky deal for those from the mud, trying to get it out the mud, praying for better for all of ever. That has been true. It's not really a good thing, right? But again, there is that aspect of the whole concept. There has been that entire idea of heroic acts of bravery being a stepping stool, but again, that's a part of the misguided misconception that chivalry can be for everyone. Where again, chivalry is only applicable to those of status and nobility, and specifically nobility and the knighting ranks, in accordance to like the old code of knights' conduct. But even then, not everyone of all nobility, not all of the knighting ranks could really participate in chivalry. It was circumstantial in that your humbling yourself would not be in regards to other men, where you humbling yourself for your sake of courting other women would not come at the cost of you jeopardizing your relationship to the other men in your life, to you humbling yourself in order to receive recognition from any woman you're pursuing and courting would not come at the cost of your integrity to your religion and your faith, be it for king, country, or the God that you believed in, and that your courting of respect and chivalrous honor for your partner, your woman, would not at all ever come at the cost of your career, work, and livelihood, because those are the things you would need to keep stable in order to provide for your family and your whole entire lifestyle. And again, this is nobility and knight ranks. No part of that chivalrous nature would have you jeopardize your knight or your nobility status for your woman. They would much sooner tell you to get rid of your woman and opt for a million different concubines. Okay? Right? So, all the women out there further disseminating the misconception that chivalry would equal being nice to strangers is unfortunately misguided. And anyone of the women out there in the dating scene being like, hey, these dudes are being buddy-buddy with their friend groups, with their bromance and their homies, DL and everything, is misguided, because even the code of conduct for knighthood chivalry says that is exactly what all the dudes should be doing. They should be prioritizing this unless you're dating them. And if you're not dating them or being courted by those dudes that you're calling chivalrous, it is not applicable. Shut up! Video! What's wrong with you? How your girlfriend puts up with you sometimes is beyond me. I'm in the middle of video. Anywho, let me get through these last few notes so I can stop videoing for the day. I only have 2 videos to do. Let me get past it. Focus. Last few: chivalry, heroic acts of bravery, and then there is the explanation difference between those final things as well. So we already got what chivalry is. We got the rebutted misconception of it down and out the way. Now, let's get through the explanation of what exactly bravery is and what exactly the heroicness is. Let's see here. Humility of nobles is chivalry. Humility of the humble in origin is recognition of distinction, acknowledgement of your status as less than. That is for you to beg, grovel, and praise and plead to any and everyone else, right? That's going over the point I already kind of described and explained, where chivalry is for the nobles and the higher of status. If you're a average Joe trying to be chivalrous or enact certain acts of chivalry, that is just you begging and groveling and giving praise to the person you're trying to court, be it your lovely woman or your bros. You trying to be chivalrous to the old ladies, the grannies, the MILF, the gilfs, or the person you're interested in. That is just you getting on your knees and being like, please pick me, please pick me. That is you being hella weird. It's much less humility than it is you exposing just how worthless you are as an individual. They're down here. That's someone humble of origin or average of origin is just you choosing to be chivalrous or trying to humble yourself is just a recognition of where exactly you are and where you belong. You belong in a place that gets you no respect. Get no bitches. Right? Moving on. Bravery. Bravery is the ability to face danger and fear, often impulsive or spontaneously, where the results justify the cost and motives are intrinsically acknowledged without much thought, right? Bravery is that ability to face fears, and fear often, the things you do as an act of bravery tends to be spontaneous. Fight, flight, or freeze. Bravery is the fighting and the flighting. Your ability to move spontaneously, intrinsically, without much thought. If you're acting without thinking too much, it's bravery, right? Courage is that mental or moral strength to persevere despite fear, pain, or difficulty. If you're in a situation, be it because of your bravery, you're in here now and you gotta push through. Courage is your ability to persevere or endure the circumstance and get through it. Courage is being like, okay, I'm here now, I have to follow through. Courage is that mental, moral strength to persevere despite fear, pain, and difficulty. Right? Now, for the definition of heroic and heroisms, it's a particular mix of courage and bravery. Because for heroism, it's not just you moving spontaneously or impulsively. Heroism is, hey, you know the cost of involving yourself in something that doesn't necessarily involve you, right? People on the street, right? Say there's a reckless driver. You're in the street too. You made an act of bravery and hopped out the way, right? Or you snatched someone who was right next to you and got them out the way because You are moving instinctively without much thought. Oh, I'm in the road, I'm about to be hit. Oh, they're in the road, they're with me, about to get hit. Let me snatch them while I make my way out. You're moving impulsively without much of a thought. You just saved yourself, right? Heroism, the difference between you being brave and acting to save yourself and an act of heroism is you going out of your way. Like, you're on the sidewalk, someone's in the street, you go out there knowing the potential cost, the sacrifice you would have to make, that you might die and not save nobody. That is the potential cost. Heroism is you being brave and acting on impulse, knowing the exact cost that you'd actually have to face. So, in a situation that doesn't necessarily involve you, you having the courage and moral, mental strength to persevere, like, oh gosh, something's about to happen, I am brave, and you spontaneously operate on it. It's not that you didn't think about it, it's that you still did it knowing the actual results, potential results. You might not have done it thinking like, oh, I can totally do this, but you knew going in what it could have cost you, which is your life in a case like that, right? Heroism is you not necessarily being in a circumstance yourself, but going out of your way with a particular level of bravery, which is spontaneous, and courage, which is the mental understanding of what is going on, but you did it anyway. You're not just mentally not there, you're not mentally checked out and fully unaware. You are cognitively aware at some point, but you are acting on impulse when you go about doing it anyway. And those two things together is heroisms and heroic. Right. Where something, you know the cost of even involving yourself in something that doesn't necessarily involve you or is of direct benefit to others at the cost of you. It's heroic when the cost of bravery is your life and lives. And other than that, but hey, that's just me, your Millenia mailman. Go ahead, like, comment, share for more exposure. Subscribe if you feel like it. Dislike the video if you don't. And by all means, have a good one. Peace. Back from where?